Well, it ain't all dark and dismal. In fact, there's a lot of really positive signs out there. A lot of the work you guys have been doing, spreading the word about Trump's involvement in this stuff, it's paying off. And it's making it so that Trump is simply not a viable candidate. And it's starting to really piss off everybody who is not in a bright red gerrymandered district. And for evidence of that, I give you a wonderful piece by Farron Cousins, who runs the channel Fair and Balanced, I think formerly Ring of Fire, or maybe he just has 2 channels now. But nonetheless, it was a suggestion by, I believe, Franny P. Thank you very much. Let's have a look because it's a blast.
So far, the only Republican serving in Congress that has actually come out and said, you know what, Donald Trump deserves this, has been Mitt Romney. Oof. Other than that, pretty much every other Republican out there, you got Jim Jordan, Troy Neal, Josh Hawley, Kevin McCarthy, Elise Stefanik, Chuck Grassley, Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene. All of these people, and many, many more, including plenty in conservative media, have all come out and publicly condemned the investigators, talked about how rigged the system is. This is an abuse of justice. Clay Higgins even called for a civil war, and Republicans didn't say anything about that.
By the way, we gonna have to deal with that. We are gonna have to deal with Clay Higgins. And to be continued on that little punk. But don't worry, this is going somewhere that I think you'll be pleased with.
But here's what's funny about all of this. Some of these individuals, I think like your Gates, your Greens, your Jordans, they genuinely are upset that Donald Trump has been indicted. Most of these other figures, no. They are as happy as a pig in slop that Donald Trump has been indicted. And here is why. Right now, a vast majority of voters here in the United States say that they do not want Donald Trump to run for president again. A majority of people in the United States say that they support the indictments against Donald Trump. A majority believe that he is guilty. A majority say that if he is found guilty, he should not be allowed to run for office ever again. Do you see where I'm going with this pattern? A majority of voters don't ever want to see Trump in the White House again. I don't care what the polls right now say that, oh, Trump's beaten Biden by so many points. No, he's actually not. Not when you look at the other polls that show the real public opinion of Donald Trump. So here's what I'm saying. These Republicans that are out there shaking their fists saying, I'm so mad at Jack Smith. You know what they're doing behind the scenes? They're popping the champagne, right? They're pouring themselves a big old glass of anything that's not Bud Light, of course, because that's too woke for them. And they're kicking up their heels, and they're enjoying the fact that Jack Smith, that special prosecutor, is taking care of the Republican Party's biggest problem. That's what's happening here. Now, they're not going to admit that. We're never going to see pictures of it. We're not going to see video of these Republicans smiling and laughing and dancing behind the scenes. But I promise you, it's happening.
If he is correct, and I show this to you in part because of the next one we're going to show. If he's correct, you'll be able to measure it in how they talk about the other candidates for president. I think you'll find the harsher things get for Trump, the more people start talking nice about Chris Christie. God help us, DeSantis. Maybe not Mike Pence, but the others.
They all know what a liability Donald Trump is for the Republican ticket all the way from top to bottom in 2024. I talked about that the other day. Even Donald Trump's allies in the House and Senate admit that, yeah, this guy's probably going to be bad for us next year. So even if they are legitimately mad at the special prosecutor, part of them is grateful. Because if Donald Trump gets convicted, there is no way in hell that he is going to get anybody to vote for him other than his die-hard MAGA apparel wearing freaks.
Ooh.
And Republicans know that. So if they can get somebody else to remove Donald Trump so that they don't have to get their hands dirty, then they get to appeal to the MAGA crowd and say, oh, we're so mad with you, but we got to move on now, though, so come on with us. We're your Republican friends. We're gonna take you. We're gonna fill the void in your life. And they're going to have that little sneaky smile creep across their face at the end because they know that they got rid of the biggest problem within their party for the day. And they didn't have to lift a finger to do it. So don't believe when you hear these Republicans out there acting so mad and righteous about what's happening, because deep down, they all know what a lie.
Yeah. Okay. I agree. We don't really have the evidence yet. We do have that report that came out where all these people, as with the entirety of Trump's presidency, behind the scenes, all these cowards are saying, oh, we don't like him, though. Oh, we don't like him. But what's different now? It's different. What's changed now? There's somewhere to go. There is actually the ability for these folks to join up with another person. And yes, they're gonna be gun shy. Yes, they're gonna stick with the raw stuff until they get even the slightest hint that that somebody else is viable, at which point, get ready to see the knives come out. Get ready to see this Trump support collapse fast. As fast as it coalesced behind him, I expect to see it bleed out. Why? Because Barron isn't wrong. It's annoying for people trying to build careers to have to carry this windbag the entire time. And there's people who stand now to benefit from harming Trump. Ooh, boy, oh boy, oh boy. That means, just like we were saying with Liz Cheney during the January 6th proceedings, you're going to get one of my favorite things, which is Republicans talking bad about each other, because Democrats don't know how to stick and twist. But Republicans sure do. And because Republicans are used to fighting Democrats who are all, I say, sir, we shall have an honorable duel, they're not really prepared for the kind of attacks that Republicans do. I give you Christie, who I do not like, but nonetheless, I like what he's doing here. Because he's sticking and he's twisted.
Perhaps the most full-throated critic the former president has on this subject among his Republican primary opponents, former New Jersey Governor Christie, who, of course, I should remind everyone, will be joining Anderson Monday night for a CNN town hall, which I will be eagerly watching. Governor Christie, thanks so much for joining us and popping in to give your reaction on this important...
For the record, that's not the corpse of Christie. That's just what he looks like. Ditto for Jake Tapper.
Day. Last night you said no one's above the law, but you wanted to wait and read the indictment before reacting, which, you know, frankly seems like a responsible thing to do. Now you've read it. Ha. What do you think?
Oh, Jake, look, you know, for folks who may not remember this, I did this for 7 years as the U.S. Attorney in New Jersey, the 5th largest U.S. Attorney's office out of the 93 in the country. Brought 130 political corruption prosecutions against Republicans and Democrats and didn't lose one. So I know how this stuff works. And the fact is that these facts are devastating. You know, you have a president who, according to the indictment, directed the packing of those boxes in terms of what to take, directed where they should go to Mar-a-Lago, directed where they went while they were inside Mar-a-Lago, directed them to move to Bedminster during the summer when he would spend his summers in New Jersey. And then when requests came, starting in May of 2021, informal requests, he continued to stonewall them and not return the documents. Then, when a subpoena came, asks his lawyers, Jake, whether or not we even have to respond to it. Do we have to play ball? You know, and then tried to get them to lie on his behalf. And when he knew they wouldn't, and his own lawyer had to make recordings to protect himself, when he knew they wouldn't, he directed his folks to hide boxes from his own lawyer in order not to turn these documents over to the government. Look, you know, people are going to argue about who should and who should not have been indicted and who should be tried. But let me say this. The bigger issue for our country is this the type of conduct that we want from someone who wants to be president of the United States? To take national security documents involving warfare and our nuclear program, to keep them in their home when they're not allowed to do so, exposing them to potentially being seen by any number of people, and then actually showing them to people.
Okay. This played, I believe, yesterday. I think yesterday. Maybe the day before. Regardless, it's Christie talking on CNN. Are you getting all the Republicans watching CNN? No. Are you getting nearly as much as watch Fox? No. But it's Christie. He's a draw. CNN ain't nothing. And a lot of folks do watch it. Now, how many saw this, saw Christie addressing the main public strategy by Donald Trump, which is to say, what about? Oh, but Hillary, somebody who's not running. Oh, but this, that, and the other person. Christie already prepping them for that talking point. Then what else did they see? If they're watching Fox, if they switched to the old reliable, or more accurately, the old unreliable, what else did they see? They saw the crazies who were out there backing Trump. All of Republican politics is based off culture. It's just a culture war, and they ask themselves every day, who do I want to beat? Who do I want to look like? What vibe am I picking? I think they'd rather be Christie and the sort of people that support him, just based off vibes, than they would the kind of folks that are out there looking shell-shocked supporting Trump, muttering nonsense. Then Trump goes out and gives a big, long speech. And what does he say? I'm going to guess tonight what he was saying was, what about this person? What about that person? Christie right off the bat addressed that point like that. I don't care about the other folks. You have choices other than Trump or those other folks. Do you want somebody who handles national secrets, whether or not he said they are still secrets or not, irresponsibly? Do you want somebody like that in power? Is he going to sway tons of Republican voters? No. Can Trump afford to lose any? Well, I'll tell you, before January 6th happened, he couldn't muster enough to beat Joe Biden, who wasn't the incumbent. If your concern is that Trump will get elected president again, I would say you can rest easy. We could have lots of problems. In fact, we're going to have to do lots of work to have as much or more turnout than we did in 2020, because we need to fix all of these problems forever by winning the House, Senate, and White House. But take heart, my friends. Take heart. Because this is the kind of messaging you're going to hear more and more of, and it is devastating to the MAGA crowd.
Off. This is irresponsible conduct. And look, at the time when Hillary Clinton was not charged, I argued against that. I think she should have been charged.
Boom.
I think that was a mistake. And during the Russia investigation, I was one of the people who spoke out and said, I didn't think Donald Trump had anything to do with it. I was involved with the campaign, and I didn't think there was anything to the Russian collusion as it applied to Donald Trump. So I've spoken out against those things when I think they were wrong. But just because they were wrong doesn't justify the conduct that he engaged in. And I think we have to focus on the conduct, Jake. And the conduct is bad. And it is bad for anybody in this country to do it. But it's particularly awful for someone who has been president and who aspires to be president again.
So, as a former U.S. attorney,
Devastating.
Does this look like a case that you would theoretically have brought had you been assigned?
You know, I don't know all the facts, Jake, but I'll tell you this. It's a very, very evidence-filled indictment. What you can tell as a trained person reading this is they have tape recordings, they have electronic text messages and emails, and then they have the testimony of dozens of people who were right around Donald Trump in Mar-a-Lago and in Bedminster over time. Those are all the elements of the things you need to bring a case like this. And so what I would say is that it looks like these prosecutors and their partners at the FBI thoroughly investigated this. And it looks like the only two people who did not cooperate with the government are Donald Trump and Walt Nauta. And I think that's why they're on the wrong side of the V, as we say in the business, and have been charged in this case.
I mean, there you go. On top of everything, willing to go where Donald Trump is afraid to, talking about the actual facts of the case. That is an arena he can keep dragging Donald Trump into, where Donald Trump has shown no ability to defend himself, because he can't. The point is, it gives Christie an opportunity to make Trump look bad and to give people who would have been Trump voters a dignified option. They can hold on to their identity as a Biden-hating whatever and vote for somebody else. What can you do? Show that CNN clip. Show that CNN clip to your MAGA voting friends, if you've got them. Ask them what they think. And I think you'll find in the moment, they won't think much of it, but they'll keep thinking about it. And the next time Trump says, what about? You say, yeah, what about? Arrest them too. How about you vote for somebody that didn't break the law, that you're confident didn't break the law? It's going to get worse for Trump. And there is going to be institutional support. There's going to be elected people who are sick to death of Trump, who are looking for an opportunity. And if they see a stumble, they're going to work hard to make it into a tumble. They're going to try to push this orange windbag over the edge. I can't wait.